Didn't even have my mic in front of me and went live. That's how you know I'm pretty tired today. But not tired enough to do a live stream, apparently. How many people do we have? 1. Nice. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Just keep it low key. No one has to know what we're doing here. We're just chilling, relaxing, having some. All right, 3. All right. It's getting bigger and bigger. All right, cool. You here? What up? What up? Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. How's everyone doing? Background music is not that great. I was trying to use the hey. All right, I'm not a fan of this lo-fi music, so I'm just gonna use the other lo-fi, the one that everyone kind of uses. Somehow they always get good music compared to anywhere else. So I'm gonna use theirs. Let me know if you guys can hear it or not in a few seconds. But I'm contemplating buying a new MacBook Pro because the current one that I have, it just does not work for live streaming. It's so laggy at the moment on my laptop and it's barely surviving. But I can't imagine just paying like 2 to 3 grand right now for a laptop. But anyways, yeah, today's topic is about dealing with stress. And I didn't come with anything prepared, but wow, being a developer is kind of stressful. You know, you're thrown into the fire sometimes of, hey, we want you to learn this new technology, or hey, can you do this new feature, even though you might not have the biggest familiarity with it. All of that stuff is I feel like it's part of the job, but at the same time it's not easy. And I don't know, maybe I'm not as showing it on my face because I've dealt with this so many times in my career at this point that you kind of get numb to it. But I find it does get easier and easier because even with new technologies, even if new languages, in some way, shape, or form, if you're good with one, you can kind of just adjust to different technologies or different languages pretty easily. But right now, I'm just been learning some Android development, and there's just a lot of files moving around and a lot of XML to Java to views, and it's just kind of hard to wrap my head around at times. And especially just like learning takes kind of a different type of brain, part of your brain to really learn. Because these days at my job, I'm not really learning as much, but more learning than applying right away. But right now, I'm just kind of in this moment where I'm just in the learning phase, and I get sleepy. And actually, the reason why I'm super tired today too was because someone booked an 8 a.m. One-on-one call with me today, and he didn't show up. And I actually slept at 1:32 in the morning. So I set up like 4 alarms at 7 o'clock, 7:30, just so I don't be late and make sure I come and be ready to kind of give him my energy because it was our first meeting, and I waited for like 15 minutes and he didn't show up. So I was like, okay, cool. Like that's kind of weird. But oddly enough, he actually signed up for next week. So maybe he made a mistake for some reason. But this time he signed up for 8 p.m. So that's a little bit better for me. But yeah, having that early wake up call and then trying to do my work and learn and then just going through that grind has been a little bit tiring today and a little bit stressful, but overall I'm just glad the day's over. I want to just talk with my members of the community, see how y'all doing, and chill out. How do I deal with stress? By listening to TechRally's calm videos. Hey man, I really appreciate that. As long as my voice is soothing or helps you get through the day, then we'll keep that going. I was actually thinking about making a video where I just read library documentation as an ASMR thing, but it's so outside the scope of what I talk about on my channel that I don't know if people will find that funny or if people will find that weird, but maybe I'll do that on my if I ever do a Twitch stream. I'm really thinking about doing Twitch, but right now my laptop can't handle it. So definitely gonna look into investing in those M1 laptops and just upping up the TechRally game. You know what I mean? I wish I could listen to the stream. Class in progress, so relate to this. Have a good stream. Thank you, Dana, and good luck in class. It's just keep it up on the side, you know. Give it a like, and then keep it muted. That'll show me some support. Just kidding. No, but really, good luck in class. Make sure you pay attention, and yeah, we'll sync up soon. Hi, how are you? I'm doing good. I'm a little tired, but I really can't complain. In a really good spot in my career and just grand scheme of things. I was looking back and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it's almost end of October. We're hitting November soon, y'all. So yeah, I was just looking back at my whole career this year, and minus just getting into Amazon, I'm super glad about the growth with TechRally. It's definitely not as fast as some other people. My goal, I think, was to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year, but I don't think I'm gonna hit that at all. I'm nowhere near. I think I have 3,000 at the moment. So, but regardless, you know, I was able to do my one-on-one coaching at a more frequent pace, which has been awesome. And I've been able to build a course, and I'm actually building a second course right now related to portfolio building. So yeah, I mean, it hasn't been like this abundance of growth that I really wanted, but at the same time, you know, all good things take time, and we all can't be software developers in 2 weeks or 2 months or 3 months. Everything takes time. So not everyone's journey is going to be the same. And just like with my YouTube channel, I just got to keep grinding it out, get better little by little, and then hopefully, you know, the fruits of your labor will kick in. So yeah, thanks for asking. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. What are we talking? Anything you want. This is a Q&A, but I guess today I was talking about how to deal with stress and how I usually manage and deal with stress. And I actually haven't talked about this topic so far yet, or in general, but I think this is a really important topic because I feel like I don't get as stressed out as much as I used to, especially related to like work and whatnot, but it does kick in here and there. But yeah, stress is just part of the game, and especially for me too, because I have a full-time job and I'm trying to do whatever the heck this is, TechRally, on the side. My head is just feels like it's gonna explode sometimes because there's so much to pack in. I have like Notion and all these productivity tools, but no matter what really helped me become more stress-free is just relaxing on the weekends and be intentional about relaxing. Because I try to use my weekend time as like TechRally time, and basically after a long stressful week of, you know, working full time and then spending that free time working on TechRally, I realized that I basically had like 2 jobs. So as much as I would like to encourage people to grind and really, you have to put in those extra hours when you're trying to become a software developer, you also have to take your breaks. The breaks are super important, and if you don't take your breaks, then you're gonna definitely crash, and it might be more counterintuitive to keep going. The only like caveat behind that a little bit, and I didn't really practice what I'm preaching right now, is when I was in a coding boot camp for 3 months, I was just grinding out for 3 months, and I was going as much as my battery can give me. And yeah, once in a while on a weekend or a Saturday, I would rest. But if I could, I was eating, breathing, sleeping code. And I think that's just because at that point in my career, I really didn't know too much. But now that I'm kind of pretty familiar with code, I've been doing it for about 5-6 years. I tell myself, TechRally, you gotta like relax, chill out, and if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't help other people. So yeah. I actually do have a TikTok. Let me see if I can find it. It's called TechRally. So give it a follow on TikTok if y'all want to. It's up and coming. Can I just point it to my camera? Let's see. Can you guys see this? Yeah, give it a follow. TikTok. I have 30 followers, everyone. That's definitely more than I anticipated, but I've just been experimenting with shorts and having a good time with this, but no, surprisingly getting some interesting feedback. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely getting the M1 laptop. This is like not working. Is the course going to be the same style? Yes and no. I think the first course I learned a lot from it, in a sense that building a 2-hour video course might not be ideal. So I'm going to break it down into sections a little bit more. And I would say this is a little bit more, definitely more beginner friendly, because it's going to require just HTML and CSS. And yeah, I'm going to break it down to sections so it's a little easier to follow. And even if it is hard to follow, I do have a Discord channel with the dedicated rooms for each course. So if you have any questions, you could always ask there. And I'm not a perfect instructor. I'm still learning as I'm going as well. So if I could get some positive feedback or negative feedback, whatever, I'll do my best to always make it better or improve on it. But this portfolio course is going to be relatively easier, because we're going to be just leveraging a bootstrap theme that already exists, and we're going to replace elements that they give us with our own personalized feels. So for example, like if your name was like John Doe and the template said Brandon something, we're going to replace Brandon with John, and just keep iterating over that, because it's in a pre-release right now. So what that means is I'm just leaving it open for people to pay in advance at a cheaper rate. And then I'm going to raise the price once it's in a full release, because I think that's a little bit easier to manage rather than doing these like percentages off or whatever. So if you want to get in at an earlier price, you're more than welcome to do that. And the reason why I thought portfolio was a good course to do was because when I talk to a lot of junior aspiring developers, they think that you need to know React, or they think that you need to know Vue to create a portfolio, but you actually just need to know CSS and HTML, and that's it. Maybe you could add Git as part of your workflow just for the sake of, doing what developers do. But all of my courses, I want to make it in a way that it will help you get a job and get familiar with the current technology. So with the React stuff, I intentionally left it where it's like, figure out the rest. If you know React a little bit and you've followed along with me, then you should be able to build out these projects. Like building out projects that interest you is what's super important. And this portfolio one is a little bit more hand-holding, but I think it's pretty crucial to have as part of your presentation of yourself as a software developer. And the reason why I'm using the theme and why that's so important is because the theme is just a way for you to just kind of leverage. Sorry about that. Someone's buzzing my front door like crazy right now. Oh, welcome to New York City, right? So what was I gonna say? Oh, the portfolio using a theme is so intentional because it avoids all the extra time you need to put into. It's still buzzing. Holy crap. I don't know what my roommates are doing. They need to get that door ASAP. What was I gonna say? Dang it. I don't even remember now because it's stupid buzzing. Oh, basically, as a aspiring developer or a developer that's trying to get your first job, you want to really like allocate your time properly. And I personally think like a portfolio should be something that can be quick, easy, and just an area where you can present your project. So if you can invest most of your time building out actual applications related to like auth, a database, a backend, a front end, and all of that stuff, do that. And then your portfolio is just more like just a hub where you present those projects. And to make a application or to build a portfolio site, it shouldn't be too hard, and you don't need to like recreate the wheel and create your own css and designs. There's a reason why people have templates, and it's because it's tried and tested and everyone is very familiar with it. So don't waste your time like trying to come up with something new. Let's just leverage something that already exists, pay for the theme, $20, and then build it quickly, and then focus on whatever else you need to do, like building applications. So that's kind of like my philosophy behind a portfolio. And I think that's super important to realize, because I think new developers feel like they have to build everything from scratch, everything from the ground up, but that's really far from the case. Coding phase, let's go. Hey, we need to sync up soon. I'm just curious to hear about your thoughts and stuff about some underground, development that I'm working on, but we'll sync up for sure. How important are API? Very important. APIs are like the bread and butter of web development. So definitely recommend you to know what APIs are, how to build an API if you're starting off. Even if you're going to be a front-end developer, you still need to know how HTTP requests work and headers and bodies and all of that stuff. So super important to know what APIs are. And yeah, don't try to skip that part, because I think it's really important. Sup, Patricio? What up, TechRally? You ever have to use Photoshop on the job for front end? I'm having to learn and use it some right now. I personally haven't used Photoshop and never had to, because I've worked with designers who use Figma, or they use some other type of tools to just present me the designs. So no, I never had to use Photoshop, but what I realized was developers that can use Photoshop, they are pretty good at front end. And I think like Joe Santos and Coding Phase is a good example, where he started off as a designer, somewhat going to school for design, and then being able to just take your designs into code right away. It just makes it so much easier, and you kind of already had that design mindset where you research into other examples, go on Etsy, and just being able to just digest what people are doing and being able to translate that right away into code. It's a different type of skill that I personally don't have. For me, it's like, just show me the Carfax or show me the design and I'll do it. But finding that inspiration or that vision board or whatever you want to call it to come up with your own creativity is something that I kind of lack, and I'm trying to improve on it. But I'm, at least within my family, I'm definitely not the creative one. I'm more of the busy bee worker type. So my brother and my mom definitely has that type of personality where they're really good at drawing, they're really creative. I was quite the opposite. So it's a long-winded way of saying that no, I don't use Photoshop. And even if I did know how to use it, I feel like I wouldn't be too good at it because I'm not necessarily super creative. Sup? Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Photoshop was life back in the day. And the thing is, people still use it, but it's not as, I mean, as a developer, I don't think it's that important. Coding already is hard enough, so leave the design work to the designers and then focus on the developing. And yeah, I like developing the skill. Makes sense. We don't have design. Exactly. But what's kind of funny is if you don't have a designer, then why are you having to do it in Photoshop? Because in some regards, I feel like it's just easier to use pencil and paper and just talk with either your product manager or I assume it's a pretty small company, so maybe even like your CEO. Because I think when I joined my startup last time, I was at that company for about 5 years, but in the beginning, we didn't even really have a designer. So me and the PM, we would just draw something on a piece of paper and be like, oh yeah, this is kind of what we want to build out. It was really, really not ideal, not very like the typical way to build applications. But when you're like young and scrappy, you kind of figure out ways to do it. Because I feel like it's more of a waste of time to learn how to do Photoshop just so you can build out the code. It's like, wouldn't it be easier just writing out the code in HTML and CSS and then doing it that way? But I don't know. It's interesting. Man, you guys are just hyping me up. What am I saying that makes it so nice to hear me talk? Should I read a bedtime story for those of you in the later hours? But no, really, Joel, you're doing awesome, man. If I could share a little story about you, I know it's not easy, and he's actually been doing a lot of one-on-one coaching with me as well. Dude's a savage, man. He's working hard, works full time, and at the same time learning how to code. And he's very close. I could sense it. He's getting interviews. Granted, we just need that one yes. So definitely rooting for you. And I think even with failed interviews or whatever you want to call it, every time is a good experience, because unless you go through that kind of gauntlet of getting rejected or having that pressure of being around someone that's kind of drilling you with these like very tough questions, unless you go through it firsthand, nothing I say will ever be able to replicate it. So yes, we can do mock interviews, and I think that's the best way to do it. But if I just tell you that you can do it and don't worry about it, you'll be ready when you get to it, that's a big lie, because the best experience is just going in these interviews. Hopefully, be confident in yourself, but be okay with getting rejected, because it's a grueling experience during these interview processes. So, man, Joel, we're really close, and I hope that let's sync up soon, and we'll figure out what the next steps are. But I know that you've learned a lot from your past interview, and we'll just get better each time. That's what being a developer is all about. So I know it's stressful as well. I can't imagine what it's like working a full-time job and also learning how to code. And I tried doing that, and luckily I was privileged enough, and I'll say it's a privilege enough that I was able to save enough money. I don't have any kids, so I saved about like $25,000, paid about $12,000 for a boot camp, moved to New York City, and I had that flexibility a little. Granted, it's a pretty short window of flexibility, but I took that money and I tried to make the most of it while living in the most expensive city in the United States. And yeah, I would still say that's a privilege, because I was able to not have to worry about anybody else except myself. And it was pretty eye-opening to live in a city that you're completely unfamiliar with, but it was just part of the process. And I was able to commit full-time into learning how to code. So for those of you that have full-time jobs, have other responsibilities, I'm sure the stress is unimaginable. But yeah, I'm very, very on the side of like, man, I'm very impressed, and I'm just rooting for all y'all that are able to balance that out. But I think it's really important to take your breaks as well, because I feel like I'm also burning out from trying to do this TechRally stuff and doing these one-on-one coaching. I love one-on-one coaching, don't get me wrong, but it is a lot of work because yeah, I genuinely care about the people I work with. And I realize the people that do get one-on-one coaching, they are very, very intentional about what they want to get out of it. And I love that. I don't want to waste my time with people that, maybe I want to learn how to code, maybe I don't, but can I spend 1 hour with you explaining to see if I like it? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want to like convince you to become a software developer. Like, I want to be around people that are motivated to actually want to get the job, right? So from that perspective, if you're committed, I'm committed, right? So all of the people that I'm working on with these one-on-ones, like, I know who they are specifically, and I'll always hype them up because I think everyone's working so hard, and that should always be acknowledged. So yeah, that's my drop on Joel. I can listen to TechRally always dropping gems. Yeah, man, that's my gem for you, man. What do I think about Svelte? It's another front-end framework that is getting a lot of Twitter hype, but a lot of companies aren't really using it too much. So unless you are an experienced developer that's pretty good with a framework already or a library already, like React or Vue, I probably would prioritize that last to learn, just because a lot of my advice comes from a perspective of getting you job ready. And some recruiters, they don't know a lot about the differences between these frameworks or the nuances. So if you say I know Svelte, but she's gonna say, or he's gonna say, oh, but we're looking for React developers, you're gonna be like, oh my god, like, how do I explain this situation or whatever? So I will try to learn the technologies that are higher in demand. And at the moment, Svelte is not quite there yet, but it's an interesting framework. I like it a lot. I just don't really see the need to learn it unless I get paid to learn it. I'm learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React, but it is too much topics. I'm forgetting what I learned. How can I remember what I learned? So I'd be curious about how much HTML and CSS and JavaScript you learned before moving on to React. Were you speed running it? Were you spending a week each on it? All of that is really important in the grand scheme of things, because if you can't really retain information, it might be that you're going too fast. So I'd be curious, can you build like a static website just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Or not even JavaScript, can you just build a static website? And if you can't even do that, then that's a red flag for you not really understanding HTML and CSS. And then kind of iterate off of that. Like, okay, now that I know HTML, CSS, can I add some interactions with JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript? And if you can do that, that's a good sign. So try to build something like a calculator app or some kind of button that makes a fetch to the API once you start incorporating JavaScript, and then translate that into a React application. But if you can't even build like a static site using HTML, CSS, that's probably a red flag for you need to go back and build something with it. The best way to learn is by building. And if you're not able to do that, then that's something that you probably need to start thinking back again and be like, okay, rewind. What did I learn? How do I build this? And just utilize Google. So. Someone has been watching Coder Foundry. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. I'm not as interested in this WASM and JavaScript battle because it's not as relevant to me right now in my career. But it's an interesting topic to get into. But I personally am not as invested in this debate too much. Yeah, exactly. Keep practicing and building things you're interested in. Things you have a vested interest in, repetition, exposure, time in the game. It will eventually. Exactly. Actually, why did I even say anything? This is the perfect device right here. It's basically repetition, practice, and build something of interest. That will kind of get you started and retain information. I've been doing this for 6 years, so a lot of these things may come more easily to me, but it took me a really long time to figure out, like, oh, so this is exactly how it works, or oh, like this is why I need to put a div, or even like CSS, like position absolute, position relative, floats. Actually, to be honest, I suck at floats still because I don't rarely use it, but that also shows you why I don't know floats that well and why I always Google it. It's because I don't repetitively use those kind of CSS properties. So anything that I don't use, I don't know. And I just Google it. But there has to be at least some kind of base layer that you should know just within your head. And it's not memorizing because you memorized it. You memorized it because you were using it to build something. So like my Flexbox, all here. I don't need to look at documentation. But if you talk to me about, like, I don't know, like CSS grids or whatever, I'll probably have to Google that and look it up because the boy doesn't use it that much. I've been fired at all my jobs, so I'm used to it. What is this in reference to? Oh, sorry to hear that, man. Hopefully the software developer journey will help with that progress somehow and kind of break you out of that mold. But yeah, I think I'm not gonna make this too long of a stream because I do have some other work to do, and I actually got one of my people in my community that bought the portfolio course already. So that is lighting a fire under my butt to make more videos related to that and make sure that it's good. Building a course versus just coding is so different because when you're coding, you're not really talking too much. But in some weird way, shape, and form, maybe it's because I'm so used to pair programming, because I did that a long time ago back in my last job. I'm able to speak and code at the same time, but it's definitely a skill that I had to learn. But nothing beats just being able to just code in silence and listening to some lo-fi and just chilling out, you know. But it's part of the game. You have to explain your thought process. And if anything, I feel like it makes me a better developer, because if you're not able to explain what you're doing, then you might have to start asking yourself, like, am I actually retaining this information, or did I just memorize for the sake of memorizing, right? So I think that's something that another dev tip that I'll give you, because that's super important. Let's see, did I miss something on the chat? Did something get missed? Let's see. Nah, I think we're good. But super glad. I mean, 14 people here on a Tuesday. On a Tuesday, y'all are here with me. I actually was supposed to go to the gym, a workout class, and I was so tired. I just couldn't do it. So I might just end up doing something at home after the stream. But man, this would have required me to take a subway, go up like 20 minutes from Phai Dai. And I was like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. And rather than going to the gym, I think it would have been good actually to relieve some stress. But talking on stream and talking to you guys and gals is actually pretty fun. I miss doing this. And even though I do it more often now than I used to, this is super fun. And what do you guys think about me streaming on Twitch instead? Because I want to keep YouTube more content related and maybe Twitch more something like this. But at the same time, I know like I don't have as many subscribers on Twitch, and trying to move over people from YouTube to Twitch can be hard. But I kind of also want to use Twitch as a platform to like code as well. And that's kind of why I want to buy the new M1 MacBook Pro, so I could code in peace without lagging and dying. But on that Twitch stream, I kind of want to show more code, because as much as I love to talk about coding and being in tech, and y'all love listening to me talk, um, I do also want to show and share what's in this brain of mine to y'all. And hopefully I could like simplify a few things that may seem overly complicated, like even like React hooks and all of that stuff. But it's kind of hard to do that on YouTube because I feel like the material can be a little bit different, but I don't know. I heard that Twitch has more of a welcoming audience in terms of just like strictly code. But I know that can get kind of boring too. So either way, I'm thinking about it. Let's see. Yeah, like try both, see which is best. I think that's a good one. I feel like you've asked this question, but I'll answer again. Have you ever froze up on the job where you had no idea how to solve a problem? Yes, many, many times. And it's okay. It's really okay. It's not the end of the world. You're not on a surgery table, like trying to save someone's life. And nothing is that important where you have to like freak out and can't do it, and then you just get into this bad mental state. Just take a breather, try to figure it out, and if you can't figure it out, then ask for help. I've asked for help plenty of times, even at this company and my last company, if I don't know what to do next. But usually when I ask for help, I try to give context to the person I'm asking help from, whether it be just an actual developer that has more experience than me, or just a developer that I need to use as like a sounding board. Sometimes like when I'm asking the question of why I can't solve this to the person, I somehow answer my own problem. Like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about this. And all they did was just sit there and just watch me explain the situation. So it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. Being frozen or not knowing how to solve a problem is part of the job. And that's why as software developers, we get paid the money that we do, is because you're a problem solver, but you're not going to be able to solve all problems. And as you get more experience, you start to recognize patterns and whatnot, but it's still never a dull moment being a software developer. And that's why I love it, but that's why I hate it as well sometimes, because it's so stressful to figure out why you don't know what you don't know. And unless you kind of open up that documentation book or open up that info about what you don't know, you won't know it. So it's all about diving deep and trying to figure it out. And that's what software development it really is. You write code, but you also do a lot of research. Do you think outsourcing is a threat to US-based software developers? If not, why? I don't think so. And it's not necessarily like a skill difference, but timing is actually super important. And what I mean by timing is being in the same time zone as the company that's based in US. Because a lot of times I notice that startups generally use outsourced developers because they're cheaper. But that also comes at a sacrifice of not being in the same time zone. When a startup starts to grow and get more funding, they start hiring more local-based developers. And when I say local, I just mean US. It could be remote, but they're still in the same time zone or 2 or 3 hours difference. And it just makes a world of difference by having your own tech team. And even to investors, saying that you have a tech team versus just outsourcing, it looks better to potential future investors as well. So in the beginning, I would say most startups tend to look for cheaper options because they don't really have that much funding. But overall, I'm not too concerned about this issue. And it just makes sense as a company to want to keep your talent in-house if you can. Yeah, pair programming is super underrated. I would say my skill level increased almost like 5 to 10 fold when I first joined my company, and all we did was pair programming. So clutch, and I don't think a lot of companies provide that kind of like mentorship. But the fact that that first company was so encouraging about pair programming, that saved my butt a lot, because I learned a lot from senior developers, mid-level developers, and it was just one of those cheat codes where I was just stealing all of their little tricks here and there. And I kind of try to practice that with a lot of my junior developers at my last company. Intentional pair programming, even though it was exhausting for me, I just wanted to put up that initial investment for that developer to quickly get up to speed, and then kind of let them figure out the rest on their own. So can you ask the boys at Amazon why they rejected your boy? Hey man, it's not easy. It's not easy. But you get to try again, right? I do agree that getting into these companies is not an easy task, but not sure what to say. But hey, you got to put in the work, and I'm sure you did. And there's always next time. So good luck, sir. Wow, 22 people watching. That's insane. I think this is quite impressive considering how many subs do I have? Like 3,000? I always tell my friends and like family that even though I have a really small channel compared to a lot of different people, I feel like I have a very loyal following, and that is something I'm so grateful for, because I think the subscriber count and all of that is kind of like a vanity metric. And you know what? Now that I'm talking about subscriber count, this guy, if you're just subscribed to this guy, unsubscribe to him, because he got a major boost of subscribers recently, and we used to be neck and neck about like we used to go 1,000 together, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000. And now this guy's just blowing me away. Like, I think he has like 3,500 subscribers. So help your boy out. Unsubscribe to Coding After 30. Maybe make more accounts and follow me instead. No, I'm kidding. He's a good guy. So, but no, definitely what I was gonna say originally was that I'm really appreciative of the subscribers that are here, because 20 people watching for my channel is quite good. And I remember when I first started streaming on YouTube, and I think it was only like 2 or 3 people watching on a Friday or Saturday night. And the fact that it could pull like 19, 20, I think, man, you guys are awesome. You guys are super awesome and super appreciative. And I always try to be genuine. I think that's the most important thing. And since I think you guys see that in me, sometimes I do get a little stressed, and I try not to show it. But overall, I try to kind of speak facts about software development and share that it is not easy. Even like coding boot camps. I went to a coding boot camp. Coding boot camp changed my life. That's a fact. But that was in 2015. That's why you don't really see me in 2021 or 2020. I don't go like, you guys should go to a coding boot camp because it's going to guarantee you to get a job, like blah, 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 because the curriculum changed a lot. And everything's changed a lot since I graduated. So I can't comfortably say that everybody should do a boot camp. And it's so expensive. It's like 15,000, 17,000 now. So I feel uncomfortable recommending someone to go to a coding boot camp if I haven't personally vetted it out myself. And so that's why even in my channel, I don't really like have those kind of like sponsorships or whatever, because I rather have you be aware of the risks, and then you make that decision as an individual. Like, can you risk not working for 3 to 4 months and also pay upfront like $12,000 to $17,000? Do you have enough finances to take care of yourself before you commit to something like this? Like I said, with my own story, I saved up about 25 grand before I went to a coding bootcamp. And even then, I was kind of pushing it a little bit, considering I used half of it already on a coding bootcamp. But it's the risk that I took, and that's probably why I grinded so hard as I did when I was there. But everything is a risk, and there's no like golden ticket or like silver bullet that's gonna guarantee you a job and become a software developer. You have to outweigh the pros and cons for sure. Yes, thank you, Alfred. Unsubscribe, baby. Unsubscribe to Coding After 30. Hashtag unsubscribe. Coding After 30. No, I'm kidding. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, sir. He's actually, I think you're going to be on live, right? At 8 p.m. So if I end the stream early, definitely check out his live stream after. I think you're going to be doing some live coding, right? Working on your project and continuing that using GraphQL, Strappy, all that good stuff. So he actually codes, everyone, unlike me. No, I do code. I just, it's a secret. I flunked my boot camp, but I'm still going to be persistent. Yeah, man. Sometimes boot camp isn't for everyone, right? So you got to figure out what works for you. Find your schedule. Find what is good, like that works. What am I trying to say? Yeah, find a schedule that works for you. Find a system that works for you. Try to find a buddy as well if you can that keeps you accountable, so you can make sure that you don't lose that motivation or you kind of steer off the wrong path. It's good to have those accountability partners if you can, because that's really what coding is all about. People think that coding is so individual based, but it's actually really, I think with anything, everything I think we kind of gravitate towards some kind of community. Like, I joke around about Coding After 30 a lot, but he's actually one of the best people I've met on YouTube because he keeps me motivated, he keeps me accountable. We joke around a lot as friends, and we bounce off ideas, and we kind of start off around the same pace together, and now he's just blowing me away in terms of subscriber count. That's besides the point. But what I really appreciate about just anything that requires hard work and dedication is that it's good to have people around you that have that same aspiration. So if you can find those accountability partners, it's going to be super beneficial. I sub to my own channel, so it's a wash. Because you already work at Amazon. Yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing about, I keep hyping you up Coding After 30, but I think that's another thing that makes our channels a little bit more genuine, is that since we are full-time software developers, a lot of the stuff that we do on YouTube, we don't really need the YouTube revenue, and it's not like YouTube gives us a lot of money. I think I make like $100 a month or something, but it's good to not be influenced by any outside pressure to, like, quote unquote make it on YouTube, because I already have a full-time job, so I'm kind of doing this for fun in some regards. But at the same time, I am curious about how I can take this, like, quote unquote hobby into something more serious. And that's, like, I want to be transparent about that, because I'm learning a lot about what it means to kind of view TechRally not as just this hobby or whatever, but as a true business. Like, how can I hate to use the word scale, but how can I scale TechRally in a way that I could help more people than just like these one-on-one coachings and all of that stuff? And these are things that I think about a lot, and these are ideas that I bounce off with Coding After 30 a lot. It's like, how do you make it in a way that you can help as many people as you can, but at the same time not to the point where it's like you treat every person like a dollar sign, right? And I'm sure a lot of people have run into this problem even with like coding bootcamps. Like, you originally come in with like a good intent to help people, but then you get VC funding, and then all shit goes to bed after that. But yeah, that's something that I've been learning about a lot this year in 2021, and hopefully in 2022, I think I'm gonna learn. I think we're gonna get to that next step, whatever that is, and I'm super excited for it. $100 a month, you're killing. Thanks, man. Admit it, you want to quit and become a full-time content creator. Actually, no, I don't want to be a content creator full-time. Like, content creation is fun because I get to make whatever I want, and I don't feel this pressure to somehow monetize it, right? But once you are, and it's also like my creative outlet from code. But if I can be super honest, I love coding. I actually enjoy working. I enjoy working, and I enjoy working on complex problems. I'm maybe not like necessarily working at a company kind of thing, but I do actually enjoy solving complex problems, and I feel like being in a work environment really puts me in those kind of situations. If I was able to somehow code outside of work and really do something along those lines, then maybe that would be something I would be interested in. But I don't want to get into full-time content creation because I actually hate video editing. That's what I despise the most. Video editing is like the worst, and it's the bane of my YouTube channel. That's probably why whenever you guys see my videos, it doesn't have those exciting emojis like pop up like crazy or like B-roll or anything like that. It's because I hate video editing, and also I also mentioned I'm not creative, so I can't come up with these like creative ways to engage your attention or capture your attention. A lot of my stuff is just like, here's my knowledge, take it or leave it, and that's it. I try to keep it pretty tactical, but I realize that sometimes it can be really dry. So it's up to you to figure out if you like it or not, but that's kind of how I like to keep my content. So checks the consulting. What are these times? Well, I mean, I can't. It's either early in the morning or late at night, right? Because I can't really do that during my time while working, right? And Saturdays or Sundays are for me. I need to relax and chill out. So yeah, message me on the side and maybe we can figure something out. The self-paced program at Coder Foundry is pretty good. I'm just listening for the music. What, are you listening to my music for while you're doing these self-paced program? Yeah, I wonder. I've actually never. I have a membership to their course, but I haven't taken it. And it's one of those things where I want to tell you, as an experienced developer, you don't need to know every single language known to demand. Wait, did I say that right? You don't need to know every single language in the world right now. Like, just, I have way too many things to do, and the last thing I want to learn right now is C#. And I love Bobby and all of them, but at this moment in time, with my workload, and I'm actually learning Java right now because I'm doing Android programming, like C# is definitely not on my list of things to do this year or even next year. And it has nothing to do with the language. It's just, you got to make a developer decision or a business decision saying like, where do I want to prioritize my time and energy? And right now, C# is not one of them. But if you are like learning and you're kind of picking a language and you choose C#, commit to it. Commit to a language and stick with it, especially if you're new, because it's so hard to like move from one language to another when you are a new developer. But yeah, let me know how it is. How much JavaScript have you learned? A lot. A lot of JavaScript. It's like my bread and butter at this point. I do also learn TypeScript this year, which has been good. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I just tolerate it, and I'm not super opinionated about how much better it is than regular JavaScript. Like, I get it, but I don't really run into a lot of the issues that TypeScript fanatics talk about. I do run into it, don't get me wrong, but it's not enough to the point where I'm like, oh my god, like it's a lifesaver or whatever. TechRally's are, hey man, hey Alex Goldberg, yo brother, how you doing, man? Must be good not being a software developer anymore after just making it, dude. You know what I'm talking about. But I'm so happy for you. Thank you for introducing me to this whole Web 3.0 back in the day. Like, it's getting so much hype now, but I kid you not, this guy, he's a true pioneer for me and just kind of introduced me to that gateway drug of Web 3.0, even back in the day. So I'm definitely Mr. Goldberg. TechRally, I have my first phone interview tomorrow. Good job. Any tips? A guy on Reddit said to discuss what's on my resume and technologies on my portfolio. Yeah, that's a really good way to start your conversation. I think it's also good to kind of talk about yourself a little bit, not just go first thing about, oh, this is what I've done, this is what I'm doing, this is my skills, blah, blah, blah. I think these initial phone conversations, people want to know who you are. And they also want to see, like, do I want to work with this person? What's their personality like? So rather than just diving right away into your projects or your technologies and your skills, just give them a little introduction about yourself. Like, hi, my name is Terrence. I'm from California, and like I went to school here, or I attended college, or whatever it is. Just give some background of like your history as a person, and then just kind of talk about how you got into coding, and then what kind of projects you've been working on while like during your developer journey, right? So this is super important to me because I've interviewed plenty of people, and it's one of those things where you don't want to like dump all this knowledge on someone of what you know how to do. People want to know who you are, what you enjoy doing, what you don't enjoy doing, and at the same time, then you could kind of share your technologies. In terms of like what you don't enjoy doing, try not to talk about that too much because we don't want to hear too much negativity, but you get my point, right? Just try to show your personality a little bit, and that's kind of where the soft skills is super important. So technology is important, but make sure you don't forget about those like soft skills as well. We as a community should be very thankful for people like TechRally and Coding After Dirty who are honest and creating amazing and genuine content for us. Hey man, I really appreciate that. And next time, just don't even include Coding After Dirty. Just say they're very thankful for people like TechRally, you know? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm a front-end developer by title, but I've been working on AWS and all of that stuff in my current job. So I guess I'm a front-end developer by title. I don't agree about the not creative comment. You must be creative in order to be a developer. Problem solving is inherently creative. Yeah, fair enough. It's a different type of creative for sure. But when I'm talking about creative, I'm talking more about like color palettes, or like trying to find colors that work well together, or like typography, choosing the best themes for your pages and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's open to interpretation of what creative is. But when I was talking about creative, I meant more from a design perspective. Like, I know how to write code really well, and I'm not sure if that I consider that creative. I think that's more about problem solving and calculating how to solve complex problems. But if your definition of doing that is creative, then yeah, I agree. Like, being a developer can require some creativity on how you want to solve certain problems. But I was just speaking it from a perspective of from a design perspective. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Oi. Hey, maybe we should pair up together and learn Java. Actually, learning Java hasn't been too bad. maybe in some regards, I'm kind of glad I learned TypeScript because there's a lot of similarities there, and like interfaces, enums, and all of that crap that I had to learn to use TypeScript. So I'm thankful that my job has given me an opportunity to learn these like newer technologies or newer ways to write the same thing. But, yeah, I don't want to like crap on TypeScript or whatever, but no, learning Java has been a lot more seamless than I thought it would be because I was getting used to using TypeScript, which is great. How much JavaScript do you know? How much LOL? How much JavaScript you need to know to become a dev? I think you just need to know enough to build an application. Is that a fair assessment? If you don't know how to use JavaScript to build an application, maybe you don't know enough JavaScript. And from like, if you want to get really, really in depth about this question, I would say that you need to know how to manipulate strings in JavaScript. You need to know how to manipulate arrays in JavaScript. You need to know how to manipulate objects in JavaScript. I think those three are like the pinnacle of things that you need to know. Like numbers, I think that's kind of important, but not as much. Like manipulating strings, manipulating arrays, and manipulating objects is very, very important in web development specific to JavaScript. And it's not even like JavaScript do you need to know these three things. Like any languages, you need to know these three things pretty well, because otherwise, what are you doing as a developer? You have to, when you're writing code, that's essentially what you're doing. Yeah, there's like this concept of inheritance or class-based or object-oriented programming, blah, 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 blah. But like at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're taking data, you're requesting data, you're manipulating data, you're doing everything with data. So if you don't know how to massage this data, then you're basically not really coding, right? So I would say that's how much JavaScript you need to know, at least at a basic level. You don't need to be like a senior level developer JavaScript to get your first job. Just know how to kind of use these basic prototype functions and you should be good to go. Yes, thank you, Terrence. Like the stream, everyone. Apparently, the more people that like the stream, the more exposure it gets, supposedly. So if we want more people to come into this room, have a chat, let's talk, let's do it. The order is HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, then the JavaScript coding challenges, and that's where I'm currently. Oh, is that for the Coder Foundry course? Interesting. Yeah, that seems like a pretty standard way to get into web development, and hopefully the JavaScript is in depth enough so you can get a good understanding of it. So yes, and exactly, manipulate the array of objects. That's another good dev tip there, because if you don't know how to use like filter, map, and find, I think those three are like the most clutch array prototype functions that you really need to know. Some people are gonna say, oh, well, you should know reduce, but reduce, I barely use it. Like, I really rarely use it, and it might be like that one time I need to use reduce, and I'll just Google it and look it up. But map, filter, and find are the three array functions I use often. So yeah, reduce, you should learn it, but don't feel like you need to master it. I still don't really know what actually I do know, but like that first argument that you put in, like whether it's an array or a string, just don't worry about it. You'll figure it out as you go. So, and but if you ever get an interview and it told you it requires you to use reduce, don't blame me though. Don't blame me. So still learn it, but I would say it's like a second tier for me. on my array functions. Do all of your... I actually don't know. I don't think so. I think Amazon has been more open to non-CS degrees, but I don't know. I don't really know. Sorry. It was rough transitioning from fast and loose JavaScript, React Dev to TypeScript or Java, Kotlin. Feels like handcuffs. Eventually just get used to it like anything else. That is so true. Yeah. Especially because when I was first learning TypeScript, I couldn't understand any of the errors. And I still don't understand all of the errors sometimes. Like, the errors don't make any sense. And it's not like, oh, you provided a number, but it's supposed to be a string. Like, those errors are super obvious. But sometimes, like, my VS Code just explodes and tells me that this is not matching this. And usually it's when you have, like, objects compared to other objects. I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? And it just gets a little stressful from that perspective, especially, like, sometimes in JavaScript, pure JavaScript, I do a lot of debugging where I'm just writing out makeshift code. And then I'm not actually even trying to use this code. I'm just trying to use it to, like, console log out something. But since I have it wrapped in TypeScript, it's like, oh, you have to provide it a type and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, geez, like, can I develop any slower? But I think I got used to it now, and that's a good sign. And yeah. Can you tell that I was a little stressed when I was first learning TypeScript? Once you hit that inflection point, though, it does get a lot easier. So I don't know. For those of you that are stressed in your software developer journey, because that's what this YouTube video today is about. Once you get it, you hit this, like, light bulb, and you're like, oh, okay, I finally get it. And all that stress that you used to have just kind of, like, disappears. So until that new technology or that new framework or that new language comes up that your employer asks you to learn. And you can reduce them your account. Exactly. I think I'm tired of low-level coding and the old tooling that goes with it. Relearning and looking at doing back-end web in the future. Nice, man. Sorry, I don't know how to respond to that, but yeah, I really hope that you are able to accomplish your goal. And just, I feel like it should be pretty seamless for you if you're already doing the low-level coding, but I'm curious, like, what is blocking you from making that transition and step? Do you use Google at your job to solve a problem? Yeah, a lot. I use Google all the time. And that has never changed, and that will never change for me. Because, well, why not? Why not use Google? Is it a pride thing, or do you feel like if I don't use Google, I'm a 10x developer? I don't think so. If anything, what I noticed is as you get more experienced, the less you kind of carry yourself with this, like, cockiness. I mean, at least for me, I don't really care. I have no real, like, pride in a sense of, like, oh, I have to be this amazing developer that never uses Google. And I Google a lot because there are things that I just don't know off the top of my head, like that reduce function, just so I could confirm again, hey, am I making the right arguments or whatever, or like using float. There are little things here and there that I don't have really memorized because I don't use it often. If I use it often, then I memorize it. But if I don't use it often, then I don't memorize it. So I just Google it. I'm like, okay, I need to do this, so I need to use this. But that's the part about being a more experienced developer, is being self-aware of what you need to use, not just do you use it. So like, even though I don't know how to use it, I could Google and look it up saying that I need to know how to use a reduce function. I need to know how floats work. I could just look it up because that's what I'm trying to accomplish or fix. So being aware of what you need to use is super important as a software developer, not just memorizing not just memorizing the actual tooling itself. How many apps or websites should I have made before sending and applying? This is a question that I get asked a lot, and let me just kind of repeat that question again. How many apps or websites should I have made before sending and applying to jobs? I think you need at least one really good project. And what I mean by that is a project that has authentication, has a database, it has an API, it solves a business problem, and that kind of whole, full stack application is really important. If you build a bunch of, I don't know, clones, then I don't think that's as impressive. I'd rather have one really good project than 5 or 6 projects like Netflix clone, Zoom clone, YouTube clone, Facebook clone, Fang clone. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, clones are cool to learn and, kind of see other people's like coding habits and whatever, but it's not a project that I will be so gung-ho and proud about. It's better to just kind of build something on your own and figure out what business problem are you solving and presenting that as your like capstone project. Ideally, if you could get 2, that would be awesome too. But I would say 1 or 2 is really the sweet spot. What's up, brother? How you doing? Do you think Webflow and the likes will eventually replace what we know as front-end development today? How will front-end evolve 10 years from now? No, I don't think so. Front-end has evolved so much. And I think even back in the day, people were saying like Wix and stuff was going to replace front-end development. Because at that time, it was just HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. But these days, as a front-end developer, there's just so much more expectation outside of just pure those 3 languages, I guess, if you want to say it. You have to know about Webpack, you have to know about bundling, you have to know about all these different like serverless style of coding. All of these things are kind of more geared towards front end, in my opinion, because you're just utilizing this front end application, relying on these different like services to build out your application. So I think Webflow is great for a certain audience, but I don't think it's going to replace it. And how do I think it's going to evolve in 10 years? It's just going to be a lot more of that, I think, where you're going to have to dive deeper and deeper into reducing like bundle sizes or like optimizing performance as a front-end developer. Like in your first couple years, you're going to be more probably focused on like components and building out like UI of your application by taking in data from like APIs and whatever. But as you get to more of like the 5 to 7 years of experience, I think that's when you start like going a little bit deeper into like, how do I optimize performance? How do I build scalable CSS? How do I blah, 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 like a little layer deeper into just outside of just pure UI components, if that makes sense. Good luck, sir. Software engineer in the aerospace industry, but started interviewing for back-end developer jobs. If I get a good offer, I'll jump. Yeah, man. I think that's... I was thinking about trying to join the aerospace industry a long time ago before I started learning how to code, because I had a Mechie degree, but no company would ever hire me. So I decided to get into software development. Who would have thought, right? Why this is a question everywhere. AI takeover questions. I have no idea. Beats me. What do you think about Web 3.0 and blockchain? Are you interested in that? I was a long time ago. but not as much these days. I'm still kind of lurking here and there to figure out what people are like interested in, and trying to figure out, oh, okay, like NFT space and everything like that. But these days I feel like my motivation and what kind of gets me up in the morning outside of my work is helping developers land their first job and talking about like Web 3.0 and blockchain development. It's not really super related to what TechRally and what my goal with this channel is about, and just as a brand in the future. Do I want to talk about like NFTs and crypto and in general, just like share this kind of information? Sure, I do, but it seems a little out of scope. So that's why I don't really talk about it too much on my channel, but I am secretly interested in those things. I just don't really share it on my channel too much because I think it's kind of, I don't want to distract people from kind of the goal of what they're trying to accomplish. And I assume, and maybe this is a bad assumption or a good assumption, like I just assume a majority of my audiences are more focused on just trying to get into web development as a career. So last thing I want to do is like add more, like throw a wrench in that journey. You know what I mean? Do you write your interfaces in Do you write your interfaces in TypeScript before getting your feature to work, or do you extract it afterwards? I understand TypeScript basics, but interfaces are vague for me right now. It really depends. If you already have an idea of what your object is really going to look like, then interface is the way to go. And to be honest, when I first started building in TypeScript at my job, I was using a lot of any, because I was just trying to get into this web dev flow of just using JavaScript. But as I gotten better and better in TypeScript, building out your interfaces is actually a pretty good idea and pretty good strategy to start off with if you can. But at the same time, you know, you never know what situation you're going to be in. But if you have an expectation that your API is going to look like this and you want to massage that data into something else, then yeah, of course, having that interface will just be a good way to kind of check yourself in case you are like referencing to a key in that object that actually doesn't exist. So TypeScript definitely has its benefits, and as much as I like to say meh TypeScript, it does have a lot of cool stuff out of the box if you use it correctly. What do I need to do to launch my own channel? I feel like I got wisdoms to share with people. That's what I thought too. I really thought that too. But man, YouTube is hard, everyone, and it is so stressful to like make content, because it's not just making content. It's not about what you have in here. It's also, you have to edit the videos, you have to make the thumbnails, I would always post on Reddit and all these other forums that will let me do it. There's so much other stuff outside of just the scope of this channel that I had to do and work on to get that exposure. And I'm not even really like a successful YouTube channel, in my opinion, compared to some other like channels that have like 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. All these other channels, they must have done something right, but I've just learned the hard way that this is going to take a lot more time for me. And as much as I love sharing knowledge, or as much as you would love to share that knowledge, I would really consider like, how badly do you want to share and help people? Because if you don't really want to do that, then the YouTube game is so hard and it's not worth it. But what keeps me going, at least, is that I get excited when people are able to get jobs. I get excited when someone tells me, hey, I landed that first internship, or I landed my first job. And I even, like, the first person I've ever coached with, she and I, we still keep in touch, like maybe like once every few months. And I like always like follow up and ask how she's doing. And like, it's so crazy to see that you got your first software developer job and all of that. So it's a pretty thankless it's a pretty thankless YouTube channel in some regards in terms of like a pure like monetization perspective. So I would punt that out the door. And if anything, it's probably just like you have to commit and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And it's like software development, basically. You're not going to have anybody watching your channel for like probably a good first year. And after that, you might have like a couple hundred subscribers, and then kind of try to build that community from there, because those are the people that must have pressed that subscribe button for a reason. And just be your genuine self, you know. So that's my advice for you, is that it's not going to be easy, but if you're able to build that small community, just really treasure that community, because those are the people that have gotten you to, or those are the people that have gotten me to where I am now. And I definitely don't want to take advantage of it or just be like too conceited about where I am. So yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you have a lot of knowledge, sir. And if you don't want to do a YouTube channel, maybe you could even do blog posts. Twitter is a good way to do it as well, like Twitter Spaces. I think that gives people more opportunity to share, because usually like bigger rooms don't have any like gripes about bringing people on and like sharing their experiences. Hologram Nunchuck, I will see you later, sir. I'm also going to be done in 10 minutes because I am tired and I need to relax. I need to clean my room. And at the same time, I also need to work on that course. So got to build that portfolio course, got to get it ready. Probably won't be done anytime soon, as in like this week, but I'm going to probably work on it and make sure it's up to speed. How about automation? Do you think you could do more automation to help with all the administrative stuff or behind the scenes stuff? Yes, but I mean, what kind of automation are you talking about? Because a lot of it is still manual, right? Like, yeah, you could front load and build out all your videos, but you still need to edit all your videos. You need to think about creating your thumbnails, and you still need to also, I mean, you could schedule all of that. That's fine. But like Reddit posts and some of them you can't actually schedule ahead of time. So there's still some automation that can be done, but most of it is still going to require a lot of manual effort. So like if you're not willing to put that effort in, then I don't know if you can expect a good outcome unless you build really, really like quality videos. So I've tried automating, I've tried front loading. It works, but it also is a little exhausting to do that too. Like recording, it takes a lot of energy out of you. And I wanted to record today too, but I'm just so tired that I just kind of settled with a live stream instead. The hardest part for me is to plan projects, using things like Trello to be scheduled, making wireframes and ERD diagrams. What is your strategy for organizing? I have a daily checklist items of things I need to do on Notion. In terms of project-based stuff, I don't know. I don't think my system is perfect, but I just kind of have this similar Trello board, a Kanban board of like what I want to work on for this project, what I need to accomplish. And I don't try to make it too big, because I realize if I make it too big, I end up doing none of it. So I have like little to-do items that I need to do for that week, and then I reference it to a ticket on my Kanban board and then kind of work it that way. But it's not perfect by any means, and I don't always religiously follow it. It's just a good way to like kind of structure what I want to do. Like doing live streaming on a Tuesday was not part of my to-do list, but I ended up doing it anyway because it's fun. I don't study code. I just work in code. If that makes sense. I wish I could kind of be a little less conceited about it, but I don't really like study code. I just read code and understand it and learn it, but I don't ever consider it like studying. Like right now I'm learning Java programming for work, but I don't really associate that with studying. I just say that's me doing my work. So it's a little different now that I'm an employee and like working at a company, but I don't go out of my way to study other languages or learn new frameworks if I don't have to, because I already have all the tool sets I need to build sites. But studying code, I mean, if you want to like say that me working is studying, then, or me coding is studying, then I guess 8 hours a day minus a couple meetings, that's like maybe give or take like 5 hours per week. 5 hours per day times by 25 hours. And then I do a little bit of code on the side for like my courses. So that's like maybe 2 hours. So 3 hours, 4 hours, maybe like, I don't know, like 35 hours per week, I guess. Ish, like minusing all the meetings and whatnot. Do you get stressed out working at Amazon, or is it because you're doing YouTube and courses on top of that? It's probably the YouTube and courses after that, honestly. Like, there are moments at Amazon too where I'm working late hours and I just can't do any TechRally stuff because it's just impossible. But it is really the balancing act of doing something on your own on the side, as well as working at a big company, or not even a big company, just working at a company as a software developer is pretty stressful as is, in terms of just solving new problems and trying to figure that out. But trying to do both is super, super hard. And right now, people, I think someone asked me about Web3 and blockchain and whatever, but if I try to do TechRally and Amazon and Web3 blockchain development or build a site up, I would have no social life. I would probably like kill myself for not, you know what I mean, like burn myself out from doing something like that, because it's just impossible. Like I'm never gonna take care of myself. I'm never going to like hang out with friends, and kind of that mental health is gonna like get really bad if I do something like that. So right now I'm just trying to keep it just two things with my schedule, work and TechRally, and that's been good for me. And I've just been learning how to take breaks more, and that's kind of one thing I want to emphasize for those of you that are like full-time working and learning how to code. Is just, you don't have to take a break like every weekend, but try to dedicate that one weekend to just relax and recharge, because super important to kind of just be self-aware when you feel like you're running out of batteries, if you know what I mean. So yeah, great question. Thanks for all you do, and the other G's, I'm out too. Later, sir. Yep, I got 2 minutes for y'all, but let's see if I can answer some last minute questions. But if not, yeah, thanks for coming on the stream, everyone. Hopefully I answered a lot of questions, and honestly, the questions is what keeps me going, because if there weren't any questions, I would probably just be sitting here mindlessly looking at a camera screen and being like, I have no friends. But the fact that y'all are talking and engaging, it's awesome, and super grateful for just having this community here, because yeah, like it's what keeps me going. And it may not be the most, like I said, it may not be the most like glamorous in terms of like monetization wise, but I am definitely committed to just seeing people grow in their careers and being able to just really embark in their coding journey. Because I know, especially, like, it's not easy becoming a software developer, and I don't think it's gotten easier. Like, you would think that, oh, like coding boot camps or all these like secondary ways of learning how to code would make it easier to get a job, but I feel like it's gotten harder. So if there's any way that I could provide support and be of use, I will want to do that. So I really appreciate these questions, and I try to give my honest answer about it regardless, because I'm not really trying to sell anything, So I hope the information I provide is always valuable. And if you ever feel like the information I share is not true, or like, oh, what the heck, why is TechRally saying some stuff like this, then call me out, because it's really important to keep me accountable. And just because I'm the one on camera doesn't mean that you guys don't have a voice either. So really enjoyed the time, everyone. And as we hit 8:30, I want to say thank you again. And I'm hoping to create some content for you this week, and hopefully I could post it either on Thursday or Friday. So be on the lookout for that. Hit that like if you didn't like it yet, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.